She was great, but what she did not ask me and what I needed in that moment, and I think what she needed in that moment, was asking me what's going on at home. Because what she didn't know, and what I didn't understand in that moment, was that my dad was in prison. And from 7th grade till the beginning of 9th grade, when he was gone, like, these were the things that were happening. I think I had a great teacher, but the piece that might have been missing in that moment was a relationship piece. And for me in that moment, what I needed most was relationship piece. Turn it on, but no, I'm just saying, like, we're talking about some shit that should be on the camera, but no, I think, like, as men, and this is not disrespect to people who don't identify and, like, all those things, but, like,
we're not trying to
I feel like as men growing up in the lives we live, you can't talk about it at 18 and not talk about it again. I think the more you talk about it, the more you begin to own it. And that's what I'm going to get into with, like, my childhood, is, like, you begin to own that and communicate that in a way that you just own it, and then everybody sees it, like this is who I am, you know what I mean? But not this is who I am in a way where this is who I am, I'm not nobody else, but this is who I am, and I'm always reflecting, you know what I mean? I think that was that was the biggest upside of me going to Michigan, was how much we had to reflect on our teaching and everything. You're always thinking about what you're saying, you're thinking about what you're doing. Why did I do this? Why did you ask this question at this point when you talk to kids? But, like, I think about my life, and I think the sooner you can own and begin to understand how you grew up, like, impacts everything. And you talk about, like, your best, I mean, I describe LA as, like, from the outside anyway, it's like you in LA, and then, like, I'm here, you know what I'm saying? Like that's like your best friend. But if you don't talk about how you grew up and things like that all the time, like, you're gonna grow, and it's just gonna be built up.
You're not gonna grow at all.
It's gonna be built up. Oh, I told you before, so you got it.
Yeah.
Like myself growing up in poverty, there are those life skills that overlapped. You know what I'm saying? Like, my dad was there, but it was a relationship with my mom. You know what I mean? And there are just so many things that do overlap with that, and then my brain's
a lot, though.
I'm trying to bullshit.
No, it is, but just when you include being black into being in poverty, on top of being maybe in a single parent home.
Yeah.
So
I thought you were talking about me, like, because one of the insights, and we've already seen some people who comment on our stuff who, who say it's not a color thing, it's not this, or when all I can say is, like, this is how the black people I describe as, like, my friends and people I grew up with are the people who I grew up with, and in that sense are other black people who grew up in poverty too. I'm not talking about
every single
it's not everybody or anything like that, and I'm talking about
we're speaking from a place of knowledge of what we know. Yeah, not for everybody, not every single person, but of what we know.
What white people don't want to understand, anyways, is that the majority of people living in poverty are white people.
Are white people, yeah. Right?
But I don't know, my own childhood and what I think about and reflect on, like, my own actions and how I view other people. But so I grew up really poor. Both of my parents are felons. I think I was 5 or 6 years old. I think I was in kindergarten when I realized my parents were using drugs. Fast forward to high school, I mean, between 9th and 11th grade, we were evicted 6 times before we were living in a shelter. Eventually, when my family was able to move out of that shelter, I moved into a hotel, one of those long stay kind of thing, extended stay. I lived in an attic of my best friend's house. At that time, it was Andrew. You know Drew. Shout out Drew. Shout out Labor Restorations.
Yeah.
If you don't know nothing about furniture, gotta learn it. I'm trying to get him to get a YouTube channel. Tell him why he should get one.
Drew, you should get one because my wife will watch it.
See?
DIY, do
Right.
it yourself. We need you.
Yep. Anyways, lived with him, I think, most of my junior year of high school. And the thing about growing up in poverty is that there are these blocks of times that I just don't remember anything. And I want, outside of like cutting weight for wrestling, I feel like everything just gets blocked out. Like I don't remember because I wasn't thinking about it at that time. But I imagine being like 16 or 17 years old, not being with my family, having like a huge impact on me. But I don't really remember. And as somebody who's in education now, a leader of a school, or even as a teacher of a school, if you're a teacher of a school, you should be thinking about these things. But
when do you think the impact took place on you, though? Around what age?
it probably was impacting me every day, I think. I think the thing I was getting at, like, I want to reverse a little bit to middle school, right? And I talked to you about this. And if anybody's watching this and can confirm this is not true, please let us know. But I don't think I had any white friends until 7th grade. I think when I grew up, maybe I'll pop some pictures down. Me and JT, Darren's probably watching. Maybe, I don't know.
Shout out Darren.
I don't know if you watch it, but Darren was he won class clown over me. But Darren, I don't think you're really that funny, but. I don't know.
Shots taken.
Yeah, he gonna share.
You gotta comment. You gotta comment.
He ain't commented yet. That's why I know he ain't watched it yet. But, damn, where were we? Middle school. So middle school, right? I'm gonna fast forward past 6th grade. 6th grade, that's when I met Andrew. Andrew ain't white. He's half Cuban, so Andrew don't count.
Sorry, Drew.
In 7th grade, so I'm gonna tell you this. I'm gonna tell you a story real quick, and. As someone in education, there's this term that a lot of people like to use called meritocracy. Meritocracy is like, how would I describe it? That's like judging somebody on their ability to do something, which sounds great, right? But when you're young, so when I was in 6th grade, they said we weren't clustered. But you would look at so in 6th grade, there were probably 4 clusters of classes. There was a teacher. So 4 clusters. There's a teacher here that taught math and science, a teacher here that taught English and social studies. And you would just switch. Half the day with this one, half this. And there were 4 of them, right? I noticed at that moment, just like years before that, the classes that I were in were majority black. And my 6th grade teacher, I'm going to give her a shout out now, Liz Sleeper. That was her first year teaching. And she taught myself, she taught Andrew, she taught others. Elsa, I don't think you're listening to this, but
You should.
she's an activist. She lives in New York City. She's in the midst of
Elsa?
it. Yeah, I think it's Elsa.
I hope it's Elsa.
I hope so.
Shout out to Elsa.
I don't know. I feel like we're not connected on Facebook anymore. We might have left each other at one point, but I hope we meet back up. Anyways, it was our first year. I love to write. I used to spend lunchtime. Jeff, Geoff Peters.
Oh, that's fire.
We would leave lunch, go to her room, and write. Anyways, but she came to my graduation, my doctoral graduation in education. I invited her to it.
What year did you graduate with your doctorate?
What's that?
What year did you graduate with your doctorate?
2019, last year.
I remember that.
That's last May. But so I invited her to it, and the party was at Andrew's house, as it should have been. But she came, and we're just talking about when I was younger, when she was younger, and she was talking about they were told as teachers that kids weren't clustered by ability. They weren't tracked. Tracked is the word, right? Some schools live off that. Come to our school, we teach gifted kids. We combine all the kids that are great together, and they're going to be great together, which really means what they don't mean, but what happens is you have classes that are 99% black. You have classes that are 99% white. And you can, when you think about gifted versus not, versus honors versus advanced, you can predict which one is going to be which one. So anyways, when you were going from 6th grade to 7th grade, you had to take what's called a math assessment placement test or something like that. So you take the test, and it determines what math class you go to 7th grade. And I only told this to one person. Well, That's not true. I told this story one time to a group of colleagues in my doctoral program because we were talking about diversity, equity, inclusion, all those things. You know, I definitely believe in affirmative action and things like that, where you give people opportunities to venture out from how they grew up so that then they can bring that back. And you have the opportunity to change, you know, the outlook for an entire family for generations. So the issue with affirmative action is that it's the metaphor of, I'm going to automatically qualify this kid for the Olympics, but I'm not going to give him track shoes. I'm not going to give him clothes to wear. I'm not, you know what I mean? Where then they get there, but then you're not still supporting them. You know what I mean? That's the issue that I have with that. But anyway, so you take this math assessment, and through that math assessment, I was really good at math. Anyways, so in 6th grade, I took that. It said you qualify for 7th grade honors. Not 7th, this is math, not 7th grade pre-algebra or 7th grade algebra or anything like that. So the form came home. It was in pencil and paper. Told me what class I was going to be in. And a kid growing up in poverty with the life skills that I learned, what do you think I did?
Did you join the class?
I erased the class that said I was supposed to be in.
Pencil.
It was in pencil. I don't know. I don't think it was at that time in my life where we would go to Kinko's and make copies and put a piece of paper over it and blank it and then make it. I don't think it was there, but I erased it and didn't do 7th grade honors, and I didn't do 7th grade pre-algebra, which is where Andrew was the next year. And I did, and I went all the way to algebra in 7th grade. And then from 7th grade on through 12th grade, I mean, majority or all my classes were all white. And what happened in those classes was, and as an educator now, the things that I reflect on is I was in classes that I wasn't necessarily prepared for. The kids that were in that algebra class in 7th grade, or all of us together, we took all of our classes together, English, science, social studies, all of them. They were already being prepared for that in 6th grade, you know what I mean? And that these are things that I took to myself, you know what I mean? Like I own that decision. And as somebody who was struggling in that class, what I did not appreciate from teachers in that moment, because if I had already had this mindset that I learned as I got older, I would have said it out loud, because that was the type of kid I had. Because there was an English teacher I had in 7th and 8th grade that we recently connected on a Facebook. I'm not going to say her name, but if you're watching, I saw you like one of our videos. And I sent her recently and said, I know you didn't like me, and I just went into a lot of stuff and was telling her about a lot of things. And just something I wish she had done in those moments, because I would have acted out. You talk about running away. I never ran away. But at 7th and 8th grade, shit was crazy. Like in my house, everything. And what the teacher never did, what I do from day one as an educator, if a kid's acting out, you stop and you talk to them and you ask what's going on. And you'll be surprised, because this teacher, it might have been the 2nd year I was with her in 8th grade, but I said something. There were clear favorites in the class. Guys that I'm still friends with now, love them. I'm not gonna use their names in the video, and maybe they'll watch and say that was me they were talking about. But I'm gonna use your name, Tro. But I said, she asked a question, and I said something along the lines of, and this might have been that early onset depression too, and then how I expressed myself at that moment. But I said, well, maybe if you weren't flirting with Trell the whole time, you would understand what's going on in this class. And how do you think she responded? Right. Her. She said, get out of the class and don't come back until you apologize. And then my response is, should I just walk home because I'm not apologizing for something that's true? And I look at everybody around me, right? And I imagine if that class were different demographic-wise, how they would have responded. Everybody's like, you know, because they grew up in houses, they came to school already knowing how to behave and act, right? And not that I didn't, although childhood was way different than everybody I was with, me saying those things, they were like never in their, they would never have said that, you know? So I remember that day, you know, being outside in like the hallway. I don't even know if I had anything to do. I just sat out. I didn't go to the rest of my classes, and I waited, and I think the bell rang at the end of the day, and I just left and went home, and like nothing was ever said of it again. And in that moment, if this teacher were at a place in her teaching career where she had thought of it, not I'm teaching an honors class, semicolon, therefore, comma, everyone that I'm teaching should be able to listen to me, they should be able to respond, they should be able to do their work independently. It was the relationship piece. And what I mean, I looked up to her, I adored her. I thought she was this blonde-haired Jennifer Aniston. I told her that in an email too.
Shout out Jennifer Aniston.
Yeah. No, shout out the teacher. She was great, but what she did not ask me and what I needed in that moment, and I think what she needed in that moment, was asking me what's going on at home. Because what she didn't know, and what I didn't understand in that moment, was that my dad was in prison. And from 7th grade till the beginning of 9th grade, when he was gone, like these were the things that were happening. And I don't even know how the expectations started at home that you're going to go to college, you know, when neither of my parents, you know what I mean? And my dad didn't even graduate from high school, but that was always the thing, you know? And like with him gone, I know mom's like, put your head down, do your work. And she's like a buzzsaw, just will do anything. And that's why I shout out mom.
Shout out mom.
I always tell her, you know, she needs to move up here, because when you move up here, we got shit for you to do.
We got you, mom.
And before the kids get older, because we might not need you as much to them. But
can I stop you for a second?
Yeah.
Real quick. I just want to backtrack real quick though. When you said that the teacher never asked what was going on, I want to shout out a teacher that did ask me what was going on though. And I've been looking to find her. Jennifer Sonnenberg. She was like my second mom. She made sure everything was great with me. I stayed with her when I went there from home. She fed me, she clothed me, and she actually got me into reading and writing more. So, Jennifer, if you ever see this video, comment, send a message, do something though.
Yeah.
I've been looking for it though.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's a good plug. Cause I don't think the relationship piece is, you know, there's things about education and teaching that, I'm gonna pause for a second. That, like when you hire people as a school leader, what I say about myself anyway, right? If you hire me for what I know, in 5 years I'm a liability. But if you hire me for my ability to learn, I forget the last piece, but it's like I'll continue to grow. Like there's nothing I can't do.
That's it.
So
that's the last piece.
So thinking about that teacher, right? The difference between these two teachers, right? It doesn't mean I think I had a great teacher, but the piece that might have been missing in that moment was a relationship piece. And for me in that moment, what I needed most was relationship piece,
yeah.
right? What I very much remember in those years were writing business letters and, you know, entering 4 spaces before I sign it, and things that, you know, now you laugh, like we spent all that time doing that, you know what I mean? And I don't know, middle school was just, that's what it was, even through 9th grade.
That was high school for me though. That's when I acted out the most.
Yeah.
That's when so many write-ups, so many don't come back until your mom comes to school with you. And she was like the teacher that was like, what's going on? And it was like, she had been through.
She knew, she predicted it. Right?
Yeah, she did. Because she had been through similar things with a spouse. Yeah. And I don't want to give her business out, but she had been through like similar things with a spouse. And she was like, not sure, let's talk. She would take me out to eat. I remember when, this is irrelevant, but to me it was big though. She took me to my first baseball game, the Tigers game, and she bought me 2K5 when it first came out, when it was $20 though. And
today was real deep. So
I think tissues.
We probably got we had to have 3 or 4 episodes out of all that. Maybe, I don't know. Yeah. But in case you were watching a 30-minute video, I'm sorry. It was not the point. We were talking about mental health turned into a lot of stuff. And mental health could be talked about for a long time.
A long time, as you can see, we were doing it.
And we didn't even get into
The deep stuff.
The stigma of mental health within the black community.
We just scratched the surface.
And as somebody who grew up in poverty, not black, mental health in a non-poverty society, from here up, you take care of it. And people pay for you to go to talk to people. People pay for you to get medicated. But mental health for somebody in poverty, you are the kids who act out in class.
You got to
kids
deal
who go
with
to jail. I mean, what percentage do you think of people that are in prison have mental health issues? All of them?
Maybe a majority, yeah. Majority of them.
Yeah, I mean, I see it.
Like,
you know, where I grew up, you go to 7-Eleven. 7-Eleven was big where I grew up. I mean, it could be corner stores up here.
You always talk about 7-Eleven too. Even
I told you,
in 2011 too. You always talk about 7-Eleven, man.
But you go to 7-Eleven, there are people outside of 7-Eleven. People who talk to themselves. You know what I mean? But those are people who went to school with. They went to school with somebody who may not have been like that at that time, who just didn't get their mental health on a wrap. It's just unfortunate.
I mean, and depending on what they look like, they didn't have somebody to be like, you know what? Let me sit you down and let's have a conversation about.
Yeah.
What do you call it? A relationship of.
Yeah, it's a reciprocal. No, it's a relationship. I mean, a teacher,
though.
but
somebody you can trust, though.
But somebody somewhere has to interact with a kid in such a way that that kid begins to learn to understand how they're thinking, why they're thinking, and they can take control of their life.
And want to be able to open up and.
And what happens is this one kid talks to 4 kids. Those 4 kids talk to 4 kids each, and then all of a sudden you're one of those people that is able to talk to you like that, and you just talk about it all the time. We're not waiting until we create a Facebook or a YouTube channel or Instagram or something like that
to let you guys.
Like we've already talked about it so much that, you know, I think we both have friends like that we grew up with. Shout out Egan. But there's people you talk to that within the first 45 seconds, all of a sudden you're diving deep. You're 80 feet underground, and it's like, wow, this was awesome. And it's those people that I've learned as I got older and educated. Those are the people that I like thrive to be around because I want to get smarter and think more. And the more you can think about it, the more you can capitalize on it, the more you get smarter, and just it helps everyone around you.
Shout out Bully in LA.
Billy, as your dad.
No, my pops called him Belly.
I thought that was a movie.
He called him Belly.
I think this might be like part 1 of 45, depending on how many videos we make. But if you're interested in seeing more of this,
what you should do is like, comment, subscribe, turn on your notifications, and follow.
All of those things.
Yeah.
That's a lot of stuff.
But we're going to make it easy for you, though.
Yeah. Trying all these graphics.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.